And welcome to another episode of the Best of Three podcast. I am Alvin, that's Torrey, and we are here to discuss a little round one review. And Torrey, before we get into it, I'm supposed to ask everyone because this is a thing you're supposed to do. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, whether you're on Spotify or Apple or you're on YouTube, wherever, subscribe, like, rate, review, all that stuff. Okay. We can cross that off the list. The lawyers are happy. Fantastic.
That's
TH, how
right.
you doing?
Do the thing.
I gotta do the thing you're supposed to do. Keep us
That's
on air.
right.
Keep us on air. Keep us on air.
That's it.
Um,
That's it. I'm
but
good, man. I'm good. It's been a crazy few matches, man. You know what I always feel like, Alvin, at the first round, there's always four or five players that I hadn't heard of, and there's always three or four that I kind of wish they would just hang up the cleats a little bit. I know that sounds harsh. I just wanted to start off with that whole side. I'm a fan, and I feel as a fan I have a right to say that. But
yep.
I say it also to say I also feel like, sometimes in the coverage of it all, unless you're there, right? You don't see all the matches that you wish you could see to get a true feel and a true understanding of how
Yeah.
close this guy
Yeah.
is and isn't. You're seeing scores, you're seeing this and that and the third. You don't know, and then my experience for the 5 days I was there, and my experience now that 2 or 3 days I've been back watching on
Yep.
TV are so diametral opposite. I'm like, God, I wouldn't be saying this if I was courtside. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be saying it.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's kind of where I wanted to start it. Just kind of like general round one, like how we're not just what we're thinking about the tennis, because I think we have plenty of time to talk about the tennis itself, right? But
Right.
how we're experiencing this U.S. Open because it's quite unique in that like you were there for the vast majority of fan week and the coaches
Yep.
symposium. I'm going up Thursday, so I'll be there for round two and round three, and then I think you're going back next week. Is that right?
I was
Potentially.
supposed to go yesterday and I didn't make it, so
Okay.
I had some stuff come up with work. It was for the Legacy Summit. Got all
Yeah.
kinds of pictures, and I wish I had gone. I'm still mad at myself for not going, and some things at the club happened. But bottom line, yes, I have. I was there for, as you said, the better part of Fan Week, Sunday through Thursday.
Yeah.
Saw quite a bit of tennis. Um, Again, and your experience on the grounds, your experience courtside is much different than it is on the TV. Even if you're watching the same exact match, it could be a little bit different.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
and then with the pros start coming in and whatnot, and it was I'm happy to get to this part of the tournament because we're back into the matches now. Um, I did shout out to my girl, my former student, Hannah Arold, who won 16's hard courts, who will
Hey
be there
now.
next week.
Hey
I
now.
was hoping to get up there the next week to watch her. So if you're up there next week, you'll get a chance to see her for me. Tell me how she fares in the junior.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But again, as I say, it's just so much, uh, so much to do, so much to say.
Right.
Um,
But
but again, go ahead.
the part about live versus in person, right? Like you
Yep.
said, it's very different, and it is very, very
Oh,
different. But I find that, the first week of a Grand Slam, especially the first two rounds, I'd actually prefer not to be there. Because
mm,
I guess the conventional wisdom is like, there's so many matches to see,
yep.
so it's great for the fan on the outside courts. While I agree with that, because I've been to the U.S. Open first two rounds before, and other
Right.
Grand Slams as well. You have to remember that you as a person can only watch one match with your two
At a time.
eyeballs at one time,
Sure.
and you can't really go from court 17 to court 4 like
No,
if you're on
at
site,
all.
right? You don't want to lose
At
your
all.
seat. You
Right.
can't really get there. But like I feel like with all the matches happening concurrently in these opening rounds, I prefer to be at home, because I can
Yeah.
bounce around, I can take
With your
notes,
with
I
your
can
remote. Sure.
exactly because that's
Yeah.
the I mean I don't want to get too deep into any real match, unless it calls for it. But I feel
Yeah.
like that's the best way to canvas. Anyways, I mean
I
that's
agree with that. I agree with that. There's something to be said for, courts 4, 5, and 6 right there together.
yep,
They're always great. And if you post up on the backside of 5, you have a good eyeball on 4 and 6 as well. Ash is polarizing. All you're watching is Ash, you know what I mean? And
sure,
hopefully it's a decent match. And unfortunately, in the first few, it's not usually as as I'm going to say, I mean, as it isn't, it's a first round match with the top seed who's going to be a name to get butts in the seats.
Yep.
But there's a lot to be said for that. I will say this: I prefer watching tennis in person to TV. Um, I have had I've had several opportunities to watch the Falcons play in Mercedes-Benz.
Yep.
I prefer watching it on TV, not in person.
Absolutely.
I'm
Absolutely.
just saying, that's just, I mean, what TV can do for the experience of a football game to help me see it all
Right.
versus what it can do on TV. I don't know. You're the TV guy. Aspect ratio, visual, the zoom camera that comes in on that little beam, on that little line that it says. I don't know all of that. What I do know is I would much rather watch a football game on TV. In person tennis, there's nothing quite like it. And I know that seems like a bit of a
No,
dichotomy, but for me,
I get you.
that's what and again, having just come back from it, I miss watching it courtside, seeing the adjustments in real time, seeing how the flow of the match, getting engrossed in the match. Whatever. We don't need to talk too much on it, but that's
Well,
all I'm saying.
I'll rank order it. From a tennis standpoint, we'll just keep it on
Okay.
tennis then. I would my the best place to watch a tennis match is from right behind the court. That's one.
Mm,
I go
money.
right behind the court. Up a little bit is good.
Yep.
Corners at that same height is good. Once you start getting away from there, then
Yep.
it for me it turns into I'd rather watch it on television because it just
Okay.
starts getting worse. If I'm on the sidelines, I don't want to sit on the sidelines. Like I'm not. I'm going back and forth with the neck. Like
Yeah.
that's just like
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
man's land. And then if you're an Ash and you're up top, it's pointless. You're just there to
Yeah.
be in the building. You're not really. I
Yeah.
saw Fed up there once in like 2008, and it was like that was horrible. I
Yeah.
I saw him,
Yeah.
but I didn't really.
Right.
I didn't really. And then like I've seen Djokovic like practice from right behind the baseline in Miami, and like that's what you want right there.
That's
You
gold.
that is being that's
Yeah.
watching professional tennis. But
Yeah.
you know
I agree.
let's jump into some. We highlighted a few matches
Yep.
that were of interest.
Yep.
Obviously, we're not gonna hit them all, but let's start in Ash on the women's side. One match that I did watch: Venus Williams versus Karolina Muhova. That was, I'll be the first to say it. Like we've talked about Venus and her, from DC, her comeback
Yeah.
all the way
Yeah.
up to now, right? We've been watching it, we've been following it, we've been appreciating it. I
Sure.
appreciated that she played the best level that she had available to her. Like
Yeah.
she brought it from a tennis standpoint. You saw flashes of
100%.
of a former
Yeah.
Grand Slam champion, right? You never
100%.
saw her waver in the face of adversity, right? She just got
Yep.
beat by a top 15 player, right?
Yep.
And at no point in that match, like I was cheering for Venus to play well. I did not I was not cheering for Venus to win that match. If that makes sense.
Right. Makes
If that makes
perfect
sense.
sense because you didn't know if the next day was going to have the same level of of anything. You know what I mean? Just not only injury free and what have you. If anything, I'll be honest, Alvin, you saw it in that second set. Venus played pretty darn
She
well.
played
You
great.
know,
She played great.
she played pretty darn well and showed some glimpses. She didn't even show against Ashton. Was it Ashton Kruger she beat in
Peyton
DC?
Stearns. Peyton Stearns.
Sorry, Peyton Stearns.
Yeah.
It showed some skills and some high tempo that I'm like, now that's the Venus I remember right there. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
And I
Yeah.
was so happy to see it, Alvin. At the same time, I'm like you. Could she keep this up for two more rounds? Could she keep this up even more? And if not, then bow out to somebody who can. And that was just, I guess I'm questioning the overall long end view of this whole why she's back. Is it to say that she still can? Then you've already proved that point. Is it to say that I could still with the best of them? That didn't need to be said. That was already understood. And if it was to say, you know what, I just want to play again, then I say
Yeah.
hats off to you, girlfriend. Good for you. You did it. You had a win. You had a set against top 15 player. Good for you. And you know what? You ain't got to rush back into retirement, but let's put the comeback, a little bit off to the side and just we are so happy that you grace us with your presence once again. And I don't think anybody doubts her level. I don't think anybody doubts her relevance, and I don't think never did. Now, I don't think that there's a reason to push this any further for any other reason other than she chooses to do so because she can. I just don't know how far that will take, right? Or we'll go with that train. And I don't know if it needs to be said any further. I'll leave it at that.
Well, she's in her post match. She said she's enjoying being able to play healthy, finally for the first time in a few years, and I can relate to that, right? As we
Sure.
get older, more and more things happen. She's had some far more serious health concerns than I've had, but what I'm saying
Sure.
is, I don't think anyone is confusing this for like a run at Grand Slams, either in her camp or on the public. She has
Right.
110% goodwill amongst the tennis community. When Venus is playing, people show up.
For
They show
life.
up in droves. Right. Yeah. So I'm in a place like you would normally think that I would poo-poo this but I'm like, no, if Venus wants to play, play. It's great. If they want to give her a wild card,
Right.
give her a wild card. Puts butts in seat, people show up, and she's competing. That's the biggest
Thank you.
thing. Like, she
Yeah.
played well enough to beat most players outside of the top 25 last night.
Thank you.
She
If
played
she had
a
played
former Grand
anybody
Slam
who wasn't
finalist.
Muhova, right,
Right.
or top 20, she might have darn near won that match if she played the same way. Let's put
Exactly.
that out there. Make
Exactly.
that perfectly clear.
Which
for
I think
sure.
is just that's kudos to her. So but yeah, so we'll keep looking. I don't know if you noticed, I'm wearing black. And I'm
Yeah.
wearing black because I'm celebrating. I'm not celebrating. I'm recognizing a loss. Madison Keys lost
Oh,
first
yeah.
round.
That was a tough
My
one.
man. Oh,
Zarzuza.
Zarazua.
Zarazua.
Yeah,
That's
that
it.
was. That was a Madison Keys match of old. 89 unforced errors, 41 winners. That's three
Who
sets
was
of.
the young Italian, Alvin? I'm sorry to cut you off. The
No, you're
young
good.
Italian that beat somebody in the first round of first. Was it the Cocciabata or I'm no, I'm butchering her name. Cocciaretta. There was an Italian
Cacciaretta.
girl that
Okay.
beat
Yep.
she beat somebody first round of Wimby. I can't remember if it was golf or if it was JPEG.
Oh, she beat
Was it
JPEG
golf?
first round of Wimbledon.
JPEG.
Yeah.
That's what that match reminded me of. It was like coming out of nowhere, similar stature, kind of on the shorter side, hitting like wheat tennis,
Right.
like just wham, wham. I mean, just looked like an avatar on wheat tennis. Just played unreal. Hats off to her for all a career win for her. There were moments of that match, Alvin, that Madison looked like Madison. Right? I mean, hitting through the ball, crushing the ball. When she caught 4 or 5 balls clean, it wasn't even a match. And yet the score stayed close. She couldn't continue to. I don't know if she was. I heard on the commentator say she was nervous and this and that and the third. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on now. You know what I mean? Come on now.
Her words. Her words.
Let's move past that. Not to say you can't be nervous, but it's also to say I don't know. I'm not prepared,
Yeah.
nervous. I don't know. I don't want to I don't want to speculate. I will say this. You've been out there for 10 plus years. You've won a Grand Slam. You've had multiple titles to your name. You always get butterflies, and that's the take home for any player. Nerves are nerves. You're nervous regardless. I think some of the greats have all said that. From McEnroe down to Fed to you're always nervous, especially in the first rounds. I'm not so sure if mentally she didn't embrace the nerves, embrace that, and perhaps a little bit of post Australian. There's now expectations for herself that she felt that kind of put her in a weird spot. But I'll say this: Zarzua did a great job of handling the moment, and I hate to see Madison. Here's now the third slam. She hasn't necessarily gone that deep in afterwards. You know that I just felt like I felt like we have not seen the best of her since Australia.
Well, what if we flip that? Because I've been thinking about Madison Keys' career, and
Yep.
we'll do this at a different time. But like, what is the comp? Right, she's won 17 tournaments on tour. Right,
Hmm.
one slam final, one Masters 1000, and then 15 tour events. Um,
Yeah.
if you take the
In
great, if you
10
take
years.
in, I mean, longer than that, it's been 15. Like,
Is
so,
it 15?
yeah,
Wow.
she
See,
turned pro in
I was going
09.
back
So,
yeah, you're right.
yeah,
But she
so,
was
but like,
14 then. So
but
I'm not going to
sure.
give her the 14 years. But
Okay,
to your point,
let's call it 2011 when she actually like made her
fair.
first first
13, 14, yeah,
U.S.
for sure.
Open,
Yeah,
U.S. Open
we
2011.
I hear you.
It's been a while, but like if you take the Wimbledon, I mean not the Wimbledon, the Australian Open win out, even take that
Mm,
final out of the U.S. Open, like what is the career that we're looking at? Like a smattering of
mm,
semifinals. Like I'm looking at it right now. She's semifinaled 5 Grand Slams in 15 years, 1 win, 1 final. Like is maybe these are the outliers. Maybe what we're seeing like is the regression to the mean. Maybe this is the mean, like an occasional first round loss. That's kind of odd, but then like
yeah.
to a quarterfinal ceiling, like and every once in a
Right.
while pops
Right.
through.
Yeah.
And that's
That's and I'm gonna let you keep talking on it because I hear you. I would that is a comment that a true fan can make in look and kind of resetting their own baseline or expectation for their player, and I get that. I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I do it every year. So I do it every year. So I hear you loud and clear. I think Alvin, when you say those words, though, I don't hear regression to the mean. What I hear is a great career with a few great highlights and a
right.
few stubs to the toe. Right? That's enough to get you in the
One of
Hall
my
of Fame.
favorite
Let's
players.
be honest.
Let's be clear. Like I'm
You
not
know
throwing
I know
shade
that.
here. This
You know I know
my
that.
ride or die. But I'm like,
But I
let's call it what it is.
yes, and I would think, and I think her game has always been a little up and down and been a little streaky at best from time to time. It tells me that players like this that are a bit streaky in their career should perhaps play a few less events and try to maximize their lightning strikes as best they can. And I almost feel like when they play too much, there's almost a little bit of lack of confidence stemming from the volume of play without results when you really should be playing for how what makes you feel better. I'm reminded of some of uh, the Jamaican sprinters coaches that are always talking about how American track and field coaches overtrain and how they
Sure.
don't
Yeah.
do a whole lot. And perhaps that's where Madison's flaw is that we're keep trying to run this young lady like a Clydesdale, and she's more of a thoroughbred. And we need to run her schedule a little more, 15, 18 weeks a year, maybe 20, and just hey, Madison, go swing, be sharp, go. We don't need 40 weeks. We don't need 38. And at the end of the day, if she's feeling good about it, I always wonder sometimes when I see these kind of things, the if the end isn't justifying the means or the means ain't justifying the ends, you might want to change it up a little bit, right? It ain't working, and I'm
Right.
not saying that she
Right.
hasn't worked. She won a Grand Slam. What I'm saying is it's fun. I would go back and look at each one of those tournament wins and start to look back if I am her or friend Tangelo and say, look, let's just check this out and say, hey, here's what was working when I did this. I was fresh. I was this. I was that. Changed rackets. I changed this and that. Something. And each time, I bet you'll start to see a little bit of a. I bet you'll start seeing a little bit of some crossover, some correlation here and
Right.
there.
And
I just feel like too many is worse.
her best 3 events this year. Two, obviously she won the warm up event before Australian Open.
Australia,
She
yeah,
wins the Australian Open. She semifinaled Indian Wells right after that, and then it's been
yeah.
steadily not say dropping, but we have not seen results that good since then.
Since, yeah,
So a quarterfinal here, quarterfinal Roland Garros, like a
yeah,
semifinal at the 250. Like we're seeing the better results for the front end of the year. And I know
right,
that for an American player being especially a Grand Slam winner coming to the U.S. Open, your
yep,
demands are vast, right? The from
sure,
sponsorships to and appearances, like the whole deal.
yep,
You're cramming a lot of your requirements in the
right,
year, like into a very small period of time. Not
yep.
only and then add on to that, like the not necessarily the pressure of being an American hopeful, but yeah, let's just
Yeah.
call it that.
She is a
And
hopeful.
on the back end of a very long year. So like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I don't have anything like I'm not making
Yeah,
a proclamation or anything. It's just like something I
yeah,
noticed, and
I'm
like
with
at
you.
some point when the year slows down and we start taking a look at kind of macro trends from this year, it's like if Madison Keys were to retire at the end of 2025, where does her career put her? Is that a Grand Slam career? I mean, is that a Hall of Fame career? One,
I think so.
I mean, a slam more or less gets you in, I guess. But to that being said, we have a lot of one-time Grand Slam winners, and I think that becomes a maybe it's not the sure thing that it used to be, because Emma Raducanu has one Grand Slam, Bianca Andreescu has one Grand Slam. You see where I'm going with
Yeah.
this? Um,
I do, but they have not been relevant for the remaining bit of their 15 years, and I'm just going to put that out there.
that's fair.
One is
That's fair.
one is struggling to regain some relevance, and which I think is good. And again, I saw my U.S. Open feed today. 4 years ago was Layla and Emma's, fateful match. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, that was only 4 years ago. You know what I mean? So, and
Yeah.
and both girls are trying to struggle to get back into the top 20. You know what I mean? From that match, and I don't know if they ever broke top 10 from that ranking boost. Just to be honest, just
No, no.
if I'm right. So anyway, your point's well taken. I think Madison is well served. I don't think she's in that same category. And hey, and there's no shade on that group either, right? Um, a lot of good players in that situation, but I certainly think Madison is a step above those just for the body of work she's amassed, as well as the length of time she's been out there. And
Right,
quite
right.
frankly, from U.S. Open final, was that 2017, 2018 with Sloan? two
Yeah, something like that.
to 2025. You know, I mean, that to me also, I mean, that to me says I've been relevant that long. I think back to Boris Becker's two slams when he won Wemby at 18 and 19, and then won the US Open 6, 7 years later. That also tells you, buddy, I've been relevant for this length of time. Struggled with injury here or there, sure. But I didn't get to the top, went away, retired, and came back. And no, I've been out here the whole time. You can't say that for a lot of players.
Yeah, the curious case of Madison Keys. That's a like because the year after she finaled, so she finaled U.S. Open 2017. The very next year, semifinal French, semifinal U.S. Open. Like so that like she was building something there.
Yep. Yep.
And then like 2022, 2023, yeah, a couple semifinals there. But yeah, it's just it's interesting. I think this speaks more to the parity of the women's game, not necessarily an indictment on
That that
Madison.
that that's huge. That's a great point there.
Yeah,
Huge, and her still proven streakiness, right? Where she can be on and very when she's on. I don't think there's many players
right,
that can beat her.
right,
Let's be
exactly.
honest. As Arena noticed in Australia, and when she's a tad off, she's beatable, and I think that's and Alvin. I'm gonna tell you right now. I've watched a ton of matches last week. I watched a few over the last few days. That is becoming more and more apparent to me than anything is is that commonality. Can I be beaten on my bad day? And that
Right,
is about
yeah.
60% of the tour. Let's be honest. 60% of the top 100 can be beaten on their bad day, period. And you mentioned earlier the parity. That's the parity, Alvin. The parity is, and the reality is, everybody is so much closer to each other now. It's not like top 100 will just fold. It's not like 50 will just go away. I just saw that match. I don't want to skip over to the men. Is it Pissarro played his fellow countryman Caboli? Dude, that match was
Yeah.
knockdown drag out. I mean, I don't want to get
Yeah.
to the men yet, but to my point, I'd never heard of Pissarro. I'm
Right.
like, dude, where's this Italian been? This guy
Just
is
a
good.
next man up in the Italian
You know?
Armada there. It's
Like,
it's crazy.
I'm like, where'd this guy go? So anyway, I say it to say, and you heard it right here. Caboli was a little lucky to get out of that one. You know what I mean? So I just say it to
Yeah.
say he was one of those guys that I said in the match. Where has this guy been? Watch out for him. Like I said with Caboli a few tournaments back. So I'm just really happy to see this kick in. Note again, I would tell you that keep Madison in the very esteemed and rare air position she has earned herself. Whenever she decides to hang it up, she has a Hall of Fame career already. If she decides to keep going, good for her. She's doing great. I would tell her just pick her poison and pick her tournaments and keep gracing us with her presence with that great looking game. And if she can do it for 30 weeks, great. If she can do it for 25, even better, because she fits a very big spot in the game of one of the few that can out hit some of the game's best when she's playing well. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Fair.
And so, and,
Fair.
and that's, and leave it at that.
Speaking of big hitters, I believe in our preview, our friend Ashley had a hankering for Clara Towson. I believe it was Ashley.
Yeah.
Clara
Yeah.
Clara caught Clara caught a bad matchup because
Yep.
Alexandria Ayala is the kind of player. I mean that match tiebreaker at the end of the third set was masterclass tennis
Yep.
on behalf of both ladies. But
Yep.
Alex's ability to, well, she's a good mover. She takes the ball off the rise well, and she can
Very well.
expose a player's lack of movement.
Yep.
And like, so the up and down for Alex is like always like, okay, she can expose your movement, but you can also expose her lack of power. So
Sure.
I saw that kind of like, I don't want to say yin and yang effect in that match,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
was
yeah,
one of
yeah. I
those
know
matches
what you
where the
mean.
game styles match up, and it's like not the most beautiful tennis all the way throughout, but you can see like each player making these micro adjustments to try
Yep.
to put themselves in the best position to, take advantage of
Yep.
the little advantages they do have.
Yep. Yep. And
Um,
Towson did not respond and did not have the energy. I think she got punched in the mouth in that first set, Alvin. I watched a bit of that match. I watched a good chunk of it. Alex Ayala, and you heard it right here. I was I was mad at myself for not looking at that match as a potential upset early because we haven't really heard much from her since. Was it Miami? It was Miami.
Miami, yeah.
And she had her nice run.
She
I
was a bit
was
injured.
mad at
She's
myself.
been
She's
injured,
been
shoulder
injured since.
injury. Yeah.
But a healthy Alex, I should have looked at that match and said, "Whoa, that could be a tough one right there," because she's proven that she has the ability to beat some of these top players. And you said it at Wimby. I agree with you 100%. You have to take some of the Wimbledon results with a grain of salt because players can do well at Wimby doesn't necessarily mean much except that they're really good on grass. And I
Right.
felt like Towson's great run she had at Wimby was just that. It was a great run on grass. She's every bit of a top 20 player in the world. I'm not so sure in that match with a bona fide proven hardcore player like Alex Ayala
Right.
that match was so straightforward. And so I looked at the match, Alvin, and I couldn't even call it an upset. I called it a great first round match in my mind because I kind of see Alex being a top 30 player within the next, 6 months to a year, the way she's playing, if she can continue to follow up that body of work. So that's it just looked like a round of 32 match to me more than a first
Right.
round.
Right.
And
Yeah.
to be honest, and that in which case somebody has to lose. It's a first round loss in the sense that that's where they met this time around. But it wasn't a first round matchup, so to speak.
And that's where we are with the women's game right now too. Like, I would say anywhere from 10 in the world to about 60 in the world. It's
Mhm.
almost a coin toss. So you get a lot of these women who are, especially, we talked about this in the preview, like, I feel for those players who are seeded 25 to 32
Yeah.
when they end up playing someone who's ranked 35 to 45 because
Right.
we saw it. McCartney Kessler had her hands full with Magdalene. Sophia
Yep.
Kenin was seeded, lost to American
Kruger, Ashlyn
Kruger,
Kruger.
Ashlyn Kruger, right?
Yep.
And
Saw it.
I mean, even you go all the way back to Wimbledon because you mentioned Wimbledon. Alex played Barbora Krejcikova, defending champion,
Right.
first round, right?
Right.
First round. Now Barbora hadn't played in a while; she was a bit injured, but she kind of did the same thing. Like, Alex came out, hit Barbora in the mouth, right?
Yeah.
Runs with that first set 6-3, and then I think she might have gotten up a break in the second set, and then Barbora got a hold of the match, 6-2
Right.
in the second, run away 6-1 in the third, which is what I would have expected, what you would expect from a top ranked
Towson to
player,
do.
and
Sure.
for Towson to do. And she almost did it. She got up in the
Right.
fifth, in the third set, and then
Right.
maybe she got a little. I'm assuming she got tired. Then
Or
Alex
maybe
was
Alex stepped up,
right.
But
Yeah,
to your point,
Alex
Alex
did
is a
step up
future
in the back
top
of the first
30,
set.
and I was very happy to see that match. I remember looking, I'm like, how did I not see this matchup early? It's almost as if since Miami, she's been kind of out of sight, out of mind a little bit with some deep runs. But dude, that the girl's here to stay, bro. She's here to stay, and I
No,
gotta
she's
say,
legit. She's
she
legit.
is 100% legit once again, proving herself to be a feisty competitor. So, some great matchups so far, man. That's what I said. Every open like this, there's 4 or 5. She was that player in Miami. She's continued to be, and there's 4 or 5 that you're like, yeah, maybe time.
Yeah, and it's yeah, and she lost first round French Open, lost first in 3 sets, lost first round Wimbledon 3 sets, gets herself in a very similar position here, and was able to claw back in that third set, played a lights out tiebreaker. So much fun to watch that match. The crowd was completely engaged. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
man, that's the kind of match.
that
I'm
you
not
want
a
to see
U.S.
in
I'm
person.
yeah, I'm a little bit of a
Yeah,
U.S. Open hater, but it's like that kind of match. It's like, oh, I can't wait to get there. This is going to be so much fun.
yeah, yep.
But kind of bouncing forward, like the first match that I watched, I think the first match on Sunday that I watched, Magdalene against your girl, McCartney Kessler.
Yep.
Um, that was a almost like a classic WTA match in the year 2025. Both ranked, like I said, somewhere in that 25 to 35 space. I think
Yep.
Magda just missed out getting
Just missed
seated.
seating. Yeah.
McCartney just got in, and you're watching the
Yep.
match. Like, there's no difference between these players. Like,
Right.
it is so slim, so
Right.
slim. But I wanted to ask you about this one thing, and we haven't taken a quick trip to Coach's Corner in a while, but I want to go
Hmm.
now. Um,
Okay.
I noticed on McCartney's forehand side, she could step up and hit it, but didn't hit it very well. Open stance in the corner.
Hmm.
And she hits it off the backhand, fantastic open stance in the corner, but forehand not so much. Not able to generate the same kind of power and balance on that side. What are kind of if you're walking through the progression of open stance forehand in this instance? What are your check marks that you're looking for a player to be able to defend that forehand corner well?
I'm going to take you back before I go to checkpoints.
Okay.
Number one, having a great backhand at sometimes almost is your worst enemy for having a huge forehand because you have a great backhand. You don't always need one. Number two, how often are you in that situation? Not often enough, right, to really develop it and really to have it. I think what I think what McCartney's dealing with right now is the need to have both wings and to have both wings very well because people are starting to get away from that backhand and they're testing her, much like Coco Gauff, let's be honest, who has a very
Yep.
similar issue on the forehand side. The people know not to test that side, right? They know not to go there in big rallies and they're going to start going bigger to that side. I remember I remember this is a funny thing, Alvin. I'll just to help, as you say, level set.
Yep.
One of our best players was a guy named Brian Bahaley, now current USTA president. He had one of the best back in the junior tennis. Okay,
Yep.
he goes off to college. He comes, and I was trying to get him to understand the open stance backhand. He never hit him in juniors. He didn't need to. He was that good off the backhand. He could rifle the backhand through you if he needed to. Angle you, rip it, roll it, doesn't matter. Whatever he could do, he could darn near scatter, covered, and smother on the
What
backhand
do you
side. He was
what do you mean he didn't need to? Explain that, because the shot to be hit is there. What you're saying is he would just cross over and hit it as
crossover,
opposed to.
close stance, rip it if he needed to, step in if he needed. And even if he did have the occasional, Ryan had developed this funky hop step on the left to hit
Yeah.
a closed stance back. Remember that?
I do remember
And
that. Yeah.
it was his own version of remaining in the squared stance he was comfortable with, and he could always step across and go big if he had to. And he was smart enough. He was one of the smartest players I ever worked with, so he knew what he was doing. He gets to college and realizes he can't get away with his little hop step rip backhand anymore, and that guys were starting to run into the forehand to open up the backhand.
Right.
This whole trip back memory lane is to tell you, Brian comes back the Christmas break of his freshman year and says, "I need a lesson every day this week on that open stance backhand. I cannot get away with it anymore."
Yeah.
And I was not only impressed with him as a player to understand what he needed, but I was also impressed that he now realized his whatever he's doing to compensate could not do it anymore.
Hmm.
Now we talk about it now, we laugh about it, but the funny part about I go back now to Miss Kessler. She's at that point, right? She's at that point, I think, and there's other players. I think Peyton Stearns is in a situation. She loves her step back forehand, right? She's gonna have to get a true step up and get inside that
Right.
court a little more.
Right.
There's these shots that they've continued to get away with. There's these plays. There's other Americans I think are in that same ballpark. They gotta start having another weapon that they have not needed heretofore, but they need it now. And I think it's not so much getting back to your actual question, now that I've kind of level set, they now need to hit copious amounts of that ball and develop a pattern over it. I don't think hitting the ball is an issue. comfortability, well, they'll get over that. The checkpoints of a step up forehand, and this
Open
is
stance
off the
forehand.
open stance forehand, are, and this is, and these are, and they're in a sense in this order. Can you hit off of pace? Can you hit it a bit wide while you're on the run? That some call it the outside hop. And can you take the true step up inside the court when the ball's there? It's not quite on the rise. It's not quite but it's definitely a drive, but it's just about a shoulder height ball to hit through. Those to me are the three. You need them in that order. You have to defend it. You have to be able to counter, to what I call counter punish it. And you
Hmm.
got to have the ability to hit the ball as a step up when you get that reset ball or the ball that's having a bit of spin. That's the three. And right now, to me, she only has the count. She only has the counter. And if she's feeling it, she'll have the counter punish on a low wide ball, but not necessarily on a high ball. And that again, what does she do? She hits well off the backhand side. She tends to fade back on the forehand and roll a bit more, hoping to come back to her backhand, which is what most people do. Now
Right.
they're going to start realizing they're going to come back to that ball. She needs a few more of those. She moves very well. She has great hands and great racket speed. It won't take her much, but she has to develop it now so they won't have that wing to expose.
Yeah, I was super impressed, like not only in that match, but her progression that we've seen over this summer, like I was saying over the last 3 to 4 months. Like she's a real player, and that's the kind of
Sure,
speaking back to what we've always talked about. Like just because you're on the pro tour does not mean that the development stops. Especially a lot of these women are
100%,
so young, like they have a lot. I mean, she's probably 4 or 5 years away from her peak. Like there's still work to
100%.
be done. We're seeing it with you can win a Grand Slam and still have work to be done, right? Coco's
Got
in
that
a
right.
Coco Kukoff's in a bit of a tussle right now. She just split
Yes, she
sets
is.
with
Just this
Tomljanovic,
Isla.
so
Yeah,
we'll keep an eye on that one as we continue to move forward. But another young player who bowed out, left us a little earlier than I think some people were assuming. But again, we're back to Barbora Krejcikova taking
yeah,
out Victoria Mboko.
yep.
That's a Victoria had a great run in Canada, right?
Great run.
Wins her first
Great for
WTA
Canada.
event. Yeah,
Great for her. Great for the whole Canadian Federation. 100%.
the whole deal. And I think losing in the first round to Barbora, two things are true here, right?
Right.
Progression is not always linear. One,
Right.
and losing a match does not mean that she is not progressing, right?
For sure.
Barbora
Yeah.
just
Both could be true at the same
recently,
time. Right.
right?
Right.
Barbara
Right.
is
Yeah.
not seeded because she had some injuries at the back end of last year, fell out of the rankings, and
Right.
now but she did win a Grand Slam last year, right? Wimbledon
Yeah.
champion just last year, and
Yeah.
she's playing well right now. She's gotten herself
Yeah.
healthy. She just came back this year at Wimbledon and has been building since July. Saw her a couple times over the summer on the hard courts, starting to look better, looking healthy. And if
Yeah.
Barbora's healthy, like, I mean, she's a scalpel, man. She's a scalpel.
Barbora played. Who was it? Was she playing Navarro? Was that what she played in Wemby when the matches kind of went off the rails?
Believe so, yeah, because
What?
she
What?
she she
Yeah.
fell apart, but she had
Got
Emma.
sick, got with, oh, had her, like was up
That
a
I think,
set and going away. Like it
yeah,
was,
yeah,
and
yeah.
she had this weird. I remember watching the match. I think it was at my mother-in-law's place. I remember watching this match, like, that was a weird air. Like out of nowhere, she had a ball, like she's on the near court. She had a ball between the doubles alley and the crowd. Like, and Alvin, I literally looked at it like, whoa, like that's a rare mistake.
Right,
And and somebody was either it's my wife or my mother. I was like, well, what do you mean? Like that? She's made a mistake. I go, no, 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 no. You're not that good to make that mistake. You
right,
know,
right,
you can miss a lot of balls. You can shank one from time to time. It happens, but you don't hit a ball fairly clean to that side. Like it's almost as if it was a precursor of it was a tremor of an earthquake and a
right,
volcanic eruption. And I
right.
remember watching that like, oh, that's a bad mistake. Like she didn't make bad mistakes. I say it to say she would have on that day beat Emma Navarro pretty clean in that match had she not got whatever happened to her. So to see her back healthy, didn't she win it the year before? So
Yeah,
those points fall off, right? And so at that point,
yeah. That's what
like you
happened.
said, shame, hate to be that person who runs up against a defending champs, you know, whose points have fallen off, like she did, because that was a tough matchup for Mboko to run it. But again, she needs that kind of player to help prove her mettle and let her know, okay. Now you're getting inside the top 20. Now you know what it's. Now you need to face me. Now
Right.
it's like old school. What was the old boxing game back in the day? Where you
Was it
had
Mike Tyson's Punch Out? Was it?
well, the Punch Out, yeah, Punch Out. You had Glass Joe, and you had all the rest of the guys. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
then all those you had to get through those levels. You know, to get to that, and that's where, and so I'm actually happy that Mboko is getting those level of players now because the tour is going to be in real good hands in the next, 18 months, 3 years, because these young ones would have played these top players and former slam
Right.
champs
Right.
to get there.
Vicky. I mean, not Vicky Party, but Barbora reminds me like when I watch her play, it's like when the coach decides to play points against the kids.
Right,
Like she's just like it's like she's always in control.
right,
You can't rush her.
right,
You might occasionally be able to outpower her, but like even if you go big, she's there because she read it before
yep,
you even thought about hitting the ball.
right,
Like
right.
if for those local, if like if Joby Ferrara was a female tennis player, he would be Barbora Krejcikova. But I wanna switch gears a little bit. Speaking of former Grand Slam champions that are sliding the wrong direction in the rankings, I want to move over to the men's side. Let's talk about Mr. Daniil Medvedev. Okay, so he loses to Benjamin Bonzi. This is two tournaments in a row, two slams in a row. He's lost to Bonzi first round.
Yep.
Um, I believe he has lost in the first round in 3 of the 4 Grand Slams this year, if not all 4. I think he might have stuck around at one of them. But lost first round, second round in Australia. Yep, to Learner Tien. I think he lost first round Wimbledon, first round here. Anyways, that match got ugly for a lot of reasons, right? And I don't really want to go into
Well
that.
before the cameraman.
Yeah, before, because that's the thing. Like people want to talk about the
Yeah,
cameraman incident, but like
yeah,
I saw at one point, Daniil missed 8 out of 9 second serve returns.
yeah.
Like, what are we talking about? Like, and he mentioned in his post match that he just feels like he's just playing like crap, and I'm like, I
You are.
agree, I concur, I
Yeah,
concur.
yeah.
So my question to you is like, do you feel like Daniil does he have one left, like one last hurrah left in him, or are we, he slips out of the seedings and we're going the wrong direction real quick?
He should start coaching. He's done. He's Alvin. I'm serious. There is nobody that's a better cleaner ball from the baseline, and there's nobody whose game has not evolved more over the last 3 or 4 years since he had his Grand Slam wins and his Grand Slam finals. Daniil Medvedev is one of my favorite people to listen to in an interview. He's funny.
Amen.
He's articulate. He's a great person. I have when he finally did he beat Novak and was it I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and he was
Yeah,
so
2021 final.
humble
Yeah,
in his win that, and which I thought was huge. And here's, he has that look. He's a little bit awkward and a little bit this and that, but he could not have handled himself better. I love Daniil Medvedev. I played with Peg the Fiber myself, right? With Daniil, I'm telling you, this comes from a place of of concern. I saw him, Alvin, in that match against Lerner in the Australian. We talked about this on
yeah,
this podcast. He was beside himself, not knowing what to do, as if, who is this guy, this Lerner guy? And we talked about there were about 4 to 6 players. Basaveretti, Lerner, Yao. There was this whole new group of players that
right.
were hitting the absolute piss out of the ball. That these former players who had had some decent results, Daniil being one of them, were simply not ready for. He was beside himself, Alvin. That was in Australia. Alvin, it's darn near a year away. He has not changed tack since. And I'm here to tell you, Alvin, at some point, if his whole thing is just being steady off the back end and working one wing, players have wings now. They have both wings and they have different levels to their game. He is trying to he's trying to cut down trees with the butter knife, and it just looks like he's just not able to go through them anymore, Alvin. And he
Yeah,
hasn't changed his game enough, right, to add that new wrinkle, to develop continually. We all love the player he was and will respect his body of work, no question. But if you're not going to continue to change and to adapt, man.
So let's level set with Daniil, right? So we're going to go
Yep.
back to Australian Open. We just talked about him losing to Learner Tien, right? That was second
Yep.
round. First round, he goes 5 sets with a qualifier. Beats him in 5. I think it was
Yep.
Samrej. Loses to Lerner in 5 in the second round, and then
Yep.
loses first round French Open, first round Wimbledon, first round U.S. Open, right? If you want to compare that, and then I think this is important, you compare that to just the 6 prior Grand Slams to that, right? So
Mm.
Wimbledon 2023 all the way through U.S. Open last year.
Right.
Semifinals, final, fourth round, semifinal, quarterfinal, right? So this is a pretty stark drop off we're talking about here, right? This is
Grand
we're
Canyon
now
drop
looking
off.
at he hasn't been this player with these kind of results since 2017, right? So and he's only 29 years old. So this is why I'm like, okay, let me ask the question. Is it salvageable? Like
Nope.
he's at the end of his peak, if you will. Yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe he ran the peak. He ran the whole thing from age 26 or 25 to 28, right? He he hit his first final in 2019. That'd have been right around age 24. Last final in 2024, that's the peak. That's
A
the window.
Grand Slam career that anyone would be proud of and envious of. And again, Hall of Fame all day. The
5 finals,
problem,
1 win, 3 semifinals. Yeah, I mean, that looks like Yevgeny Kafelnikov, something like that, but like who's also in the Hall of Fame.
thank you. Just saying,
Yeah.
he's going the wrong way in a hurry. There's blood in the water. I'm just telling you, Alvin, I like him. I've always liked Daniil. It just doesn't look like he is riding the ship anytime soon. There's no game changes, there's no differences. Who knows if he's 100% healthy? Let's be honest. That kind of hitting over the years has got to take its toll on your body. He's a
Yeah.
tall guy. He's he's lean. That's a lot of pounding. You know what I mean, on the tennis court for a lot of years. And I don't know if he's 100% healthy or not. What I do know is he's not shortening the points inning. And I do know that at some point he's not doing a lot of the things he needs to continue to evolve with his given style and his given um, with his profile. He's not expanded or enhanced his profile yet. So what are you going to do? You're going to keep doing what you've always done. And what is that? What do they call that? The definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different
Yeah.
result. That's where we are. And
Okay.
and I don't say it lightly. I don't even say it without the due respect due a man who has won slams and gotten numerous finals. This man is one of the top players in our game. I just feel like at a certain point, he needs to just consider if he's doing this to win slams and to improve, that he needs to reconsider. If he's doing this just to make draws and continue to make a career out of it, sure, keep doing what you're doing. But I wouldn't plan on staying around many second weeks going in any Grand Slams anytime soon. And I'm hoping we tiptoe over to your boy Novak, who also had his hands full with Learner Tien just the other day.
And
Just
we
saying.
call that a professional segue right there. So let's do talk about Novak
Yeah.
versus Learner Tien. Like on paper, pretty straightforward match for Novak. I believe the score was something like 6-1, 7-5, 6-1. I'll have to
Three,
go back
four.
and look at
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I don't have it right in front of me, but I watched this match. It was anything but straightforward, especially in the middle, right? So the
Yep.
first set, Lerner looked horrible. Like he
Yep.
looked out of sorts. Like
Yep.
maybe it was the moment. It's a big stadium. A lot of things going on there. He didn't make
Maybe you're
Novak.
playing the 24th time Grand Slam
Right,
champ.
right. But Lerner couldn't. He was not making balls. Like very
Right.
basic stuff that he does very well.
Right.
But then in the second set, he settles in and gets into like his bag pretty solidly.
Yeah.
Lerner is creating an MO of being able to handle high tempo rallies with the best of them,
Right.
and he was dogging Novak. Novak had to scream uncle a few times and bailed out on
Yep.
some 16, 20 ball rallies with some
Yep.
drop shots. Like I've seen enough. I don't want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And looked every bit of it in between points. He looked dead
Yeah.
to rights.
Fell at one point, Alvin.
Yeah,
Literally fell.
looking
Misstep
like
on a backhand.
Yes, looking like an elder statesman,
Yeah,
looking a little out of breath, right? And
a lot out of breath.
obviously to his credit, being the goat that he is, like got himself out of it, right?
He's the GOAT.
Lerner was did not have the tools at his
Right.
disposal to put Novak away in that second set when he had opportunities,
Yep.
and then down 2 sets of love, Novak just kind of like he found himself, took care of business. But I think the takeaway from that match, from my standpoint, is Novak hasn't played. He's not match tough right now.
Hmm.
And this
Hmm.
is the fine balance that he's working on right now. Like, in order to preserve himself to go deep in these events, he feels like he needs to play fewer matches.
Yep.
But in order to get through these matches
Quickly.
quickly, he needs to be
He
sharp,
needs to play matches, right?
which he is not. He's put himself into like Shaquille O'Neal, play my way into the season, but
Right.
he doesn't have yeah, he doesn't have the sharpness to like he's saving himself for the playoffs, but also playing himself into the season. You can't. It's hard to do both. There's a fine line between doing both,
Yeah.
and he's riding it. He's on the razor's edge. Got through that match, and I think he's got a pretty straightforward in the next one. But um, it I'm not gonna say it's concerning. Novak has he's been in some tough early round tussles in the
Yep.
last few grand and like U.S. Open last year, Australian Open this year, Prismich another match. But I imagine he'll get right and he'll look like himself. But that's not the problem. The problem is getting to the quarterfinals and feeling like he can compete
Yep.
3 matches in a row from that point. And
With the death of 1,000 cuts that he's experienced along the way.
exactly, exactly. And I feel like we're in that spot now where there's not really a lot to say about it. Like, yeah, he's probably going to get himself through these first 3, 4 matches. He probably will. I have no reason to doubt that he will. But then he's going to start running into the Alcarazes and then Medvedevs and then center and like it's just a lot to ask when we can't get through matches like this quickly and efficiently.
How about the Cabolis and others who are just a little fitter before he even gets to Alcaraz and center? I haven't looked that deep at his section of the draw, but there's players like that you have to go through. There's players that he's going to have to get through the tougher meat of the lower seeds, Alvin, before he even gets to one of those here soon. And again, each one is a death of 1,000 cuts. He will get through, like Gladiator did, and Gladiator 1 and 2. He will, but buddy, he's leaking. He will have a few dings in him, going that route. And again, we've all said it. Their father time is undefeated, and I just feel like the man has blessed us for decades now. Two decades of tennis at a high level. I feel like there's nobody that can tell him but himself when it's time. But at the same time, we do not need to continue to give him this level of he may win 25, right? I remember all this going down when Serena kept looking for that last
Yep.
one, right? And
Yep.
I kept thinking to myself,
Yep.
you're willing to risk all these losses and all of this ding to your legacy for this one more tournament, which yeah, maybe the record books are that important. I get that when you get that level, yeah, why not? I get it. But I just saw a woman. I remember when Naomi beat her the first time at the Open. I remember saying to myself, you may not realize it, but the torch has already been passed, right? You're still Serena. We all get that. But you're no longer the Serena that you once were. And do we appreciate that? Yeah, yeah. Maybe more than you know. And I think maybe it's your own, I hate to use these words, Alvin, vanity, your own confidence, your own hard work, your own champion mindset. I don't know. I'm not here to dog it, but that won't let you stop, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And that's the only thing no one questions that. If he were to stop right now, we'd be like, yeah, yeah, he gave it a good run. And I feel like the only person who's doubting that take is him,
Yeah.
or her at that time. And so and that's all I'll say. I certainly don't want to come off anyway as with any level of nothing but respect. There's no condescension. There's no nothing. Nothing but respect for the man. It's a moment of silence, and he's still with us. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, what can you say that hasn't been said? But at the same
Well,
time, I don't know, man. You think you're going to try to go 2 weeks with this? You know what I mean?
well, I
In the
remember
hopes to get one more? I don't know.
I remember the Serena thing too, and I don't have my Serena stats fresh, but after losing to Naomi, that was probably 2018 U.S. Open,
Right,
right?
right.
She follows that up by she lost to Simona Halep at Wimbledon in 2019,
Yep,
right? Halep played the match of her life. I think she had two unforced errors in the match, right? Like
right.
okay, but that was in the final. She was
It
there.
was the final. Yep,
That year was maybe the following. I think it was that year, maybe the following year. She lost to Bianca Andreescu in the final of the
yep.
U.S. Open, right? So like she was still getting there, and that's where I'm in the same place I was then with Serena that I am now with Novak, and they're
Yep.
very much so parallel situations here where I can't tell someone to not continue to try when they keep getting that close. Like at that point, like that's what you play for. You play for the opportunity to win Grand Slams. And Serena had opportunities. Novak has semifinaled or
Right.
finaled the last like 6-7 Grand Slams. Like he's right there, but we're now starting to see.
Have those three matches. The you mentioned the match with 5-2. What's her name? You said it again.
Halep.
How Simona has the Osaka, Halep, and Andreescu match happened already. And are we in the 20? What was her last one when she lost? Was that 2023? Are we
Uh,
closer to the 2023 Serena and not the 2019, 2020, or 2021? That's my question.
right. Well,
Now,
yeah, and I
and I
think
agree with you, and I think the parallels, and we're talking about two of the absolute greatest of all time. I don't want
right.
to. I'm not
It's a
throwing dirt on
nuanced
any graves,
conversation. It's a
but it's a
nuanced conversation
nuance
here.
that only two people ever can be a part of at this point in their career. We're talking Jordan after the six championships. We're talking Brady after the championships at Tampa Bay. We're talking Tiger Woods coming back after a car accident. We're talking literally. We're talking about a handful of individuals of all time that can be in this conversation, Alvin, for us to even talk about. And that's what I'm saying is how rare this is. However, every time I see it, I just continue to look at it and say to myself, but is it likely? And is it going and each time it gets further away, and each time it's going to require that much more of a output of both the wear and tear on the body. And to your point, he's playing less and less to be ready for these, and he's going to have more and more of these all the way through. And I
Yeah, I
just
mean,
feel like it's an inverse relationship.
yeah, I mean, the numbers say it's not going to work out, but I mean, he is bumping up against, save for a U.S. Open loss to Poprin, right? He's lost
Right.
to Sinner 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
He's lost to Carlos a couple times at Wimbledon. Had to pull out against Zverev in Australian Open. Like, so he's getting there, but these guys seem to. I mean, he did beat Carlos this year, Australian Open, but that seems to be the anomaly of the last 2 years, as opposed to he's getting to these guys, and these guys are just seemingly better than him in these events. So it's
Yep.
probably, I mean, obviously we're closer to the end, right? We
Right.
are,
But
but
every day we wake up, we're closer to that end,
well, touche.
and that's all I want to say. So
And I wanted to I
again,
wanted to pull up here. I don't
yep,
know if
I
you can
see
see, but I
it.
see it on the screen here.
Yep,
You have his kind of like his next few rounds. He's got Zachary Shvada in the next round. I want to say that should be straightforward. But
yep.
then he's got Cam Norrie probably after that, and Cam will get in
Who's
those
playing some
legs.
pretty good tennis?
He's playing good tennis, and he will get in those legs, and that's all we're talking about right now. We're talking
Yep.
about the mileage and the wear and tear that Novak's going to have to accumulate in week one, and then where does that leave him come beginning of week two,
Right.
and then after that you're looking at either Francis or Holger. They're going to make him work, so
Right.
it's not. Their matches, they're winnable. Of course, they're winnable. He's the best player of all
Well,
time. But
if he could play them once a week, he would dismantle each one.
if it were a challenge ladder, he'd be money right now. Or some
But
tiebreak tens
unfortunately,
or fast fours. But we're
got
playing
that
three out
right.
of five here.
We're
It's
playing
a
3 out of 5, and it is a grand slam, and it's the last one of the year coming into the year. So these players are also sharp, right? This not we're not shaking off any nerves. We're not shaking off any cobwebs. Everybody's been playing. So
yeah, yeah.
anyway,
And just kind of like the last men's match I wanted to touch on. We mentioned Passaro versus Cabali was a knockdown
yeah,
drag out match.
yeah,
Inner Italian battle.
yeah.
Kabali wins that match, he's going to play Jensen Brooksby in the next round, who also won a knockdown drag out battle against Vukic. Another 5-setter, and that's like, these are the matches. I think Brandon Nakashima is another example. Like, you want to, when you're navigating through a Grand Slam, like, and these guys aren't like, they're not threatening to win slams quite yet, so maybe they're not at the point in their career where they can navigate these Grand Slams, but in order to put yourself in position to make a run in the second week, you got to avoid these landmines of long 4s and 5-set matches early on. The math doesn't math out when it comes to lactic threshold and replenishing of nutrients. That's not what you want to be doing in the first day of Grand Slam.
And yet it's being required, and I feel like that's also the parity of the men's game. And hats off to it, man. I got to tell you, it's just been a phenomenal show of tennis. Both those two matches you mentioned were, buddy. It's not getting any easier. You know what I mean? It is not getting any easier, and that's first round. You and I remember days, Alvin, back in the day when a guy was happy to make main draw, and he got dusted out pretty routinely, and everything went forward, buddy. I would dare say the 98 or whatever the actual cut was for the Open. I bet if you put 78 versus 58, that'd be a 4-set match.
Oh,
Period.
absolutely.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Let alone 64 and in. You know what I mean? So I mean, there's just I was watching 3-set matches in the qualies, Alvin, that I'm like, this is
Yeah.
this is some tough tennis, man. I mean, almost
Right.
the second round, Alvin. I think I watched 4 matches that all went long in the third. Like, it wasn't just like I'm like, yeah, this is where it starts to heat up. This is some solid tennis. I mean, you're talking each player gone through 4 shirts minimum. Good tennis from both sides. Even the guy that was losing, you saw had chances. And which is why it was both the tension, the nerves, and the tennis itself, the actual
Right.
X's and O's execution. So now you carry that into, right? You carry that into the qualifiers are coming in ready.
The
Not to
qualifiers are
mention,
ready. Yeah.
yeah, buddy, they played 3 matches. These guys are ready, and so that's my point. The Open, man, and I don't think we give a lot of credit to. Here we are. It's a complete dichotomy. We're talking about Novak may not be able to, and we're talking about guys in the qualies are no joke. Make sure we understand the context here. Novak is the best player of all time. Period. Nothing more needs to be said. We're talking about an aging champion at the end, and does he have it in him to do it again? That's all we're talking about. Novak
Right.
on his bad day is 4 in the world. On his bad day,
Right.
and so we're talking about, could he, with the parity of the men's game, can he navigate 6 more matches to get to the final and avoid, to your point, the landmines that are going there? And I would even tell you, Alvin, that the qualies are becoming even more rough to deal with. And buddy, you better come to the Open with a little extra in the tank, because it is that nobody's there to give you nothing,
So
and they're not there to help you.
let's stay right there, 'cause I want to look forward, and I want to kind of take a look forward now to our some round 2 matchups
Yep.
of interest. Like, there's a lot of good ones, but you mentioned
Yeah.
qualies. I'm going to stick with the men's side. Lloyd Harris is playing against Taylor Fritz, right? So Lloyd Harris from South Africa came
Yep.
through qualies. He's currently ranked about 350 in the world, but Lloyd was a former top 50 player. Like,
Yep.
I've seen him play in person. He's legit. He's legit.
Yep.
I think he's 1-1 or 2-2 lifetime against Taylor. They're about the same age, 27,
Mhm.
28, very similar build. That is going to be an interesting match. It just
Sure.
feels like it's going to be a daytime match on Louis Armstrong, and like Lloyd
To
is
go the
not going.
distance.
Lloyd's not going anywhere. Taylor's going to
Right.
have his hands full. That's a
Yep.
horrible second round match for
Right.
a 4 seed. I think Taylor's a 4
Yep.
seed. It's like,
Yep.
hey, congrats. It's like Mboko getting Krejcikova in the first round. Like,
Right.
here's your prize. Here's your prize.
Yep.
Also on the men's side, Gabe Diallo, our
Yeah.
Canadian sensation, got
Yeah.
himself
With
through
the orange hair.
with the orange hair. Got himself a 4-set win yesterday. He seeded, looked like a pros match. Like,
Yeah.
won the first set, dropped the second set, win sets 3 and 4. Like, got himself out of there.
Yep.
He's playing Jaime Munar
Mm.
second round. again, congratulations. We're we're
Yeah,
we're now we're now in a Masters 1000 event. Is what it feels
that's
like.
right. That's right.
Um, and then Mr. Short Shorts himself, Tomas Mahach,
Yep.
against Yao Fonseca.
Oof, that's gonna. They need to
Oh
change
baby,
the balls out every 5 and 3 and not 9 and 7. You heard it right here, or I should say 7 and 9 and 3 and 5. They don't. The Wilson needs to create a new ball for these two players because right now they're gonna there will not be Wilson or U.S. Open on that ball
right?
by that last game of that ordeal, and both players are gonna wait around for a few forehands. And buddy, you heard right here. That is going to be a nice little barn burner. I'm looking forward. I saw a little bit of guile. I saw a little bit of drop shot. I saw occasional volley out of our Brazilian sensation on his first round match. I'm happy to see that. And Mach just continued to kind of get his game up a little bit too, and had a little variety. And he's starting to be at a little shape when he needs to. This is going to be a good match, Alvin. I'm really looking forward to those two. And again, it continue like in Boko in some ways, each of these matches continue to help Yao to get to the level that he's trying to be
Yeah,
at down the
yeah,
road. And that's not to say that he's, that Mr. Match is cannon fodder. It's not. He is every bit a respectable top 20 player in the world. It's just to say the more of these matches, I gotta think they will continue to favor Yao in his matriculation. Do I see him being the next Grand Slam champ winner? Not yet. But do I see these matches he gets through preparing him and getting him there? I 100% do.
yeah. And I think we have to remember he is still young, and
Yeah,
what we look
18,
for
19 years old.
what we look for from young players is continued progression, not just
Right,
how well they do in these Grand Slams, but how they continue to build
right,
out their games. And like you mentioned, you're
right.
starting to see more out of him,
Yep,
using slices, coming in, rounding out his all
yep,
court game. And this is his first full year, playing all four Grand Slams.
yep,
I think you just kind of want to see him like get a win or two, do a little better than he did at Wimbledon potentially.
yep,
But I think moving into that next echelon is beating someone like a Mahatch in the second round of
yep,
a Grand Slam.
yep,
So that should be fun. I mean, that's going to be on an outside court somewhere,
yep,
potentially Louis daytime. I don't know what day they're playing, but
yeah.
oh,
I see that
I
being a
just
court 17 match. That reeks of a court 17
I
match.
just looked up tomorrow's order of play. Harris versus Fritz, first on Louis
Louis
Armstrong. Of course,
had
of
to be,
course, of
had to
course.
be.
Or second on,
I,
second on.
I see that Mahatch and Fonseca match on 17. You
Grandstand.
know,
Second match on
or
Grandstand.
or grandstand. Like I said, that
There you
just
go.
it deserves it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they are following another match of interest. Emma Navarro versus Katie McNally.
Mm,
First on Grandstand. Katie
the two
Katie's back.
Americans.
She's healthy.
Yep.
She's playing some good ball.
Look good in the mix, Coach Alvin. Look good in the mix. Does she look good?
She
Look good in her match of the day, or who she played in the first round? Um, I watched that match. Pull it up if you can.
Jill Teichman.
That's right,
She beat Jill
Teichmann.
clean. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
two to
No,
two.
she looked very solid and moving well and hitting. I was impressed with how tidy she made that match look
Right.
for and Teichmann can be that kind of player that can give you some fits. She didn't even she cleaned that match up pretty solid, which let me know that Katie's playing pretty well. She is one of those players that benefited from that early play of the mixed doubles and got in. That was your boy, my new favorite, Lorenzo Mussetti's partner, by the way. That's a whole nother talk show. Yeah, please. You
Let's
won't you won't you won't be getting
go.
you wouldn't be getting any more compliments out of Lorenzo from me, but I will
Hey,
say I'll stand by what I said.
Lorenzo handled GMP like a pro today.
Yeah,
Let
he
me just
did.
bring the big fella down. They've played like this is their third time playing in a Grand Slam, and Lorenzo always gets him in 4 or 5. Like he's got a beat
Yeah.
on that serve. He knows how to handle it. He's not going to get. He's a pro. He's a
Yeah.
top 10 pro.
He is.
He knows how to handle these kind of situations. But yeah,
I
I
have a
like.
question.
Yeah,
Please,
let's talk
please, please
about it.
continue. I'm so sorry. I've done this all night.
No, 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 no.
Please.
I was ask your question because I was gonna change topics anyways.
There is a player, Alvin, that I watched his match. Kind of salty that I stayed up late to watch the match, to be honest with you. Alvin,
Hate
this
yourself for it.
player has been on the tour for a number of years.
Huh?
This player physically has a massive weapon in his size alone. His
Okay.
serve is ridiculous.
Yep.
His height and wingspan are ridiculous. And Alvin, every time I watch this player play, I feel like he's getting worse, not better. And Alvin, I wanted to find out if you felt the same way.
About Riley
Tell
Opelka.
me, tell me why Riley Opelka continues to miss more or less routine returns, camps out 20 feet behind the baseline for a guy that should be coming forward, gets in late when he does volley, is a pretty good volleyer,
Yeah.
all thoughts considered, and doesn't do near enough of it. And why does he not have Evo or John or anyone else who's over the height of 6'9" as his coach, helping them to get him to that next level of a top 20, a top 10? Because the more I keep watching this young man, the more I keep thinking they're trying, or he's trying, to play like everyone else when he is unlike everyone else. And it's almost frustrating me, Alvin, to see him go the other direction
Yeah.
with his game and his tactics. Tell me what you thought.
I mean I kind of look at this from the inverse, right? So like
Okay.
Riley Opelka, we're saying why isn't he better with that size? Why isn't he better? I would even flip that question and go, maybe he's only this good because of that size. Like
Mm,
maybe he is not that. And I don't know. I don't watch enough of Riley's matches because unlike yourself, like I did not stay up to watch that match. I have no interest in watching
mm.
serve bots play tennis. Like I am interested in Carlos Alcaraz pressing through this tournament. I don't want to be stressed out by the odd task of him having to get through a tricky match like that, but he did it perfectly. Before the match came on, I was telling my wife, like, this match will be nip and tuck, and it'll be something like 7-5, 6-4, 7-5, and I think it was pretty close, like 6-4, 7-5, 6-4. So, like, it's a one break kind of situation. But Riley, I think it's hard for him to use his size. Like we talk about how good he is at the net, but he hits a big ball. The balls are coming back with a lot of pace and shape. It's going to put him in bad positions hitting first volley. So, like, if he's there, right, yeah, you're not getting past him. But it's hard for him to get there and really impose his size on you at the net. That's kind of my first read with him coming forward.
But isn't that
Outside of,
tactics, Alvin? Isn't that tactics? Can't he slice more? Can't he come forward more? Can't a guy like an Ivo Karlovic, who also was 6'10", not pop a serve, hit a slice? Why did Ivo hit so many slice returns? So he could come to the darn net and do use his his magician hands when he could going forward. More, but Ivo Karlovic, I don't want to say his name wrong, had some of the best, and John had some of the best tie break ratios and times under uh, number of times not getting broken in tournaments lead probably
yep,
in the career of tennis of ATP Tour. And these two gentlemen should be on Riley's short list, and they should be on speed dial to get these guys in the camp. And whatever he's doing, okay, whatever he's doing, to your point, Alvin, you said it very well. But why is he not doing that? And whatever he's doing to rip the ball, if he's having to go side to side, 6 feet behind the logo of the
yeah,
of
that's a
the of the
problem.
of the U.S. Open on the back, and he's 7 feet tall, Alvin, he's playing the wrong style. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? He should
yeah,
be blocking, rolling, or chipping and charge something, because there were times it looked almost easy for Carlos to pass him. Now I'm not talking Carlos. Carlos is Carlos. We know that. Center would have probably passed
right.
him easier. Let's be very honest. The problem I have is the fact that he started off that far back in the first place. And it just let me
Sure. Okay.
know he's not going to beat anybody else if he does that. Sure, you're not going to win against Carlos, but who else will you beat with with those same tactics and court position? That was my problem.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't really disagree there. I mean, he does spike up and occasionally beat players you wouldn't expect him to beat. Like he beat Holger Rune earlier this year. I know back into last year he beat Novak. Like he's beaten some good players and will continue to beat good players every once in a while. But like, how does he get himself back towards that? I mean, he's a career high, I think, of like 18, 19, somewhere in the top 20 there. But off of that injury, making his way back like next year,
Right.
how does he get himself back into, being seated at Grand Slams? I'm with you in that he needs to maybe even shorten up the list of options. It's like sometimes at
Yeah.
a restaurant, they got too much stuff on the menu. It's like, why
Right.
don't you just tighten this up and do less and do it well? He could
The
he
real
could say to
nice
tighten it
restaurants,
up.
Alvin, they give you two options. They give you a seafood option. They give you a steak option and a
It's like it's
chicken
tight.
option.
It's
You're
tight. It's
welcome.
good.
You know
It's
what I
tight.
mean?
It's tight
Thank you.
menu.
And I think
Um,
he should go with the tight menu. I like that. I like that analogy.
and maybe I mean, it's also a case of like bad draw. Like Carlos ain't losing to many people right these days, right? So like,
Carlos is always a bad draw.
right, exactly. And he seems fit for the test.
Yeah.
A couple of women's matches I want to touch on that we can get out of here. McCartney Kessler, for all of
Yep.
her great work against Magda Linette, gets Vondrousova next round.
Oh,
That will be tough.
another one.
We
Yep.
touched on McNally and Navarro. I could put Emma on upset watch here because
Mhm.
Katie's playing well and Katie comes forward like
Yep.
relentlessly.
Yep.
So if she gets a ball that she can transition on, she will transition on it, and she's a fantastic, obviously
Yeah.
fantastic double player.
Yep.
Former partner of Coco Gauff, and
Yep.
obviously you saw her in the mix. But yeah, I she's playing a little better than Emma is right
Yeah.
now, anyways.
Yep.
That's if
Stop.
you're catching this tomorrow morning by some chance, grandstand's where it's at. Navarro versus McNally up first on the grandstand. That will be a good one.
Yep.
And then kind of the last two here, Taylor Townsend against Yelena Ostapenko.
No shortage of tood on that court.
I don't. I wonder if Penko will engage because she will have no familiar faces in the crowd. Let's put it that way.
Right.
It's this is home turf for
100%.
TT. I'd like to see Taylor like. Obviously, she's doing a lot of things on the double circuit. She's the number one doubles player in the world, Grand Slam champion. I would love to see her make a run. Like we've been blessed with U.S. players making runs at the U.S. Open the last few years on both men's and women's side. I would love to see Taylor Townsend. I'd love for the world to meet Taylor Townsend. A second week showing in the U.S. Open would be Labor Day weekend, the perfect opportunity to do that. I think she's poised for it. She's playing good ball. I don't know. I don't have a
Definitely
call
could
on
happen.
it. Just
Definitely could happen. I know. I have some history with her coach John Williams. Great guy. Uh, Done great work with her. And Taylor, I gotta say, has just continued to improve every year in
right.
every part of
Yeah.
her game. Gotten in
Yeah.
better shape. She's continued to short parts of her game. She's continued to improve every year, Alvin. And so with the matchup being what it is, Panko's backhand, Taylor's left-handed. Taylor's gonna come in,
Yep.
gonna move Yelena. I mean, I think that match could go the distance for sure. And if the variable is where it's at and maybe conditions, I certainly give the nod to Taylor. Obviously, it will again. Both ladies have no problem with a little controversy and being a little feisty. So I think that could be a great match. You almost hope it goes that way for Taylor's sake, because then Taylor's got a little edge, a little chip on her shoulder. You know what I mean, to kind of get there.
Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. That could be definitely be a good one. Who is y- There was one other match I was looking at, Alvin, that I was wanting to find out. Um, Somebody else plays somebody that's pretty good. Oh, by the way, what's the score of I'm on my phone right now, not my iPad.
Oh
What's the
yeah.
score of Coco and, and,
We
and
got
Ayala
5
Tomljanovic?
all in the third. I think Coco just served for it at 5-4 too. So it's we're.
There's the sounds like the serving glitches are still there.
I see the
Mm,
text messages coming rolling in. People are stressed out. I'm like, I'm not watching it. I'm talking to the man right
yeah.
here. Um,
Yep.
the one more
Yep.
match I had kind of pegged was Alina Kalinskaya is playing against who did I have her playing against? Putin Seva. Not
Mm,
a blockbuster matchup, but that's like a just to these women are both top 30 players.
Yep.
Ish. Putintseva kind of in and out of seedings here over the course of the year. That will be an interesting one. But Kalinskaya is playing some really good ball right now. Like she's making very good ball right now. But yeah, so Coco's up. She just broke. She's up 6-5. Seems like breaking is not the problem. Seems like
Never has
surfing. But let's put it in pen. We'll leave the people with that. Just based on the on the travel schedules the next few days. I'm thinking maybe we'll let rounds 2 and 3 play out, and then we'll touch base again over the weekend, maybe Saturday, and then we'll go from there. Sound good?
I think that sounds like a plan.
Fantastic. We'll wrap up here, and then we'll finish watching this Coco match, and maybe we'll get a little tiebreaker to send us off into the night. But yeah, thanks for sticking with us. Again, I'm Alvin. That's Torrey. Like, rate, subscribe, all that stuff. Best of 3. We are out.